Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Entrepreneurs in a Game podcast. This is a podcast where we discuss mindset for entrepreneurs, the do's and don'ts, and why mindset is so powerful for our success. I'm really pleased to be introducing a very special guest today. Dave is someone that I've known for a while, and he really walks his talk. And I know we're going to have a fantastic discussion about mindset with him because he deeply believes in it. He was a struggling mentalist, mind reader, and magician. Then he discovered the power of sales and marketing, and his business skyrocketed from 3 shows a month to 25 shows a month in less than 90 days. Other business owners took advice and they started asking Dave how he did it. And as a result, his business was born because he knew he could make a significant impact on people's lives as a coach, consultant, and speaker. Dave has shared the stage with Shark Tank's Barbara Corcoran and Kevin, Mr. Wonderful O'Leary, and some very prestigious people. And he's also the author of the book Sales Stampede and founder of the email newsletter Sales Espresso, which I subscribe to, and I would highly recommend it to you because it's packed full of fantastic sales advice and tips. Dave, a very warm welcome to the Entrepreneurs in a Game podcast. I'm very excited to have you here because I know that you and I share a great love of mindset. And this is something that I know that you came upon in your career as a magician. And I'd love you to share the story of how you found mindset and why you believed it was so important for you to pursue.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me on here. I'm really honored because I'm an amateur at this stuff compared to you, but super happy to be here. Yeah, so I was as I mentioned, we won't tell my entire biography because that would be too long. So if you don't mind, we'll just 8 years old. We'll go up
Good place to
progressively, eight,
start.
9, 10. Does that sound good? Because
Sounds
you
good
said
to me.
you said 3 hours. Was it 3 hours or was it 30 minutes? I'm not
It was
100%
30
sure.
minutes.
Oh,
But we
30
can
minutes.
edit a lot of it out. That's
I'll
fine.
have to really cut it down. Yeah. So when I was a little kid, about 8, 9 years old, my grandmother gave me a little magic set, and I fell in love with magic. And I knew literally when I was 9 years old, 8 years old, that that's what I wanted. I wanted to be a professional magician for a living. And my parents thought it was kind of cute when I was 8, 9, 10. But when I was 18, right, 19, they didn't think it was so cute anymore. And I started getting a lot of negative input, not because my parents aren't wonderful, they just didn't understand it. And so I got, you're not going to be able to make a living doing it. You're going to have to get a real job. It's going to be too much of a struggle, right? All of that kind of stuff. And so that was my first negative programming around mindset. And when you get that negative program, especially from an authority figure, you tend to believe it. So I took a very traditional route. I went to the University of Massachusetts in Amherst, got a degree in communication, did everything that I was supposed to do. Got a job at a radio station, eventually ended up in radio advertising sales. And it's funny that I teach selling now because, I was literally the worst, honestly, the worst radio advertising salesperson on the planet. I mean, I was terrible. I had no training whatsoever. And my first introduction to mindset was going to a seminar put on by a guy by the name of Tom Hopkins. Now, Tom is a world famous sales trainer. He wrote the seminal book, How to Master the Art of Selling. But what was interesting is Tom did his presentation and he was really doing it to sell his product. But one of the products that he offered was a separate book, which, and I've never told this story before, was a separate book on, it was all about mindset and success secrets. So he had his sales training book. There was a bonus book that came with it. And I really read that book. And it's the first time I really learned about goal setting. And I learned about positive affirmations. In fact, I'm going to show you something. It might be ugly for a second here, but if people are watching this, they'll be able to see it. I actually printed out, and I still say this affirmation. Look at this. Let me make sure everyone can see it here. It says, I will win. Why? I'll tell you why. Because I have faith, courage, and enthusiasm. And I actually started saying that. Tom said, say it 3 times a day. And so I started doing that. And then I discovered Jim Rohn and started studying Jim Rohn stuff like crazy. And that led me to having the guts to quit my job at the radio station, to move out of Massachusetts, to move to Atlanta to pursue my dream of being a professional entertainer. And it took a while. I mean, I had a job at a magic store pitching magic tricks, and was actually in that job even though I was a top salesperson. And now I was on my own, and this is where mindset really needed to come in, because I had to make a crucial decision. Was I finally going to actually go for make my lifelong childhood dream and the passion I had of being a professional entertainer a reality, or was I going to get a regular job? And fortunately, I took the path of going for it, and it was difficult because I was doing 3 shows a month, and I wanted to quit, and I had adversity along the way. And then, as you mentioned, I discovered the power of marketing. And here's where it gets very interesting. So I focused almost exclusively on mindset up to this point because I really got hooked on it. But mindset alone was not getting me the results that I needed. And I discovered that sales and marketing, if I really dove into that and I really applied that, that's how my business changed. And so what I stopped doing was all of the mindset stuff. I said, oh, that mindset stuff is all woo-woo stuff. I just need the hardcore sales training and marketing. And so I studied that like crazy, and bought courses and books and things like that, all about sales and marketing. Well, then guess what happened? My results started to decrease and things became more of a struggle, and I wasn't handling adversity and problems in my business that every entrepreneur faces as well as I used to, because I had abandoned the mindset. And then it finally hit me. Oh, wait a minute. It's not either or. You need the mindset piece and you need the business piece of it. Because if you don't have both of those, if both of those aren't working together, there's no way you're going to reach the results or reach your close to your potential, because one or the other is going to hold you back. Because you can have the most positive mindset on the planet, but if that doesn't lead to taking the proper actions, it doesn't make any difference. On the other hand, if all you're doing is taking action, right, and not working on mindset at all, well, then there's going to be blocks. And this is what you're like a friggin' master at, is uncovering those blocks that people don't even know that's holding them back, right? And so it's really a combination of both. And when I discovered that, that's when everything really for me. So that was my introduction to mindset, and I've never literally told that story to anybody like that except on this podcast. So it's kind of cool for me.
I love it. I love this story, how you married up the 2 areas together and got that perfect combination. So tell me, when you started getting into mindset, you made that big decision to change direction when you were younger.
Yeah.
What did mindset do for you that enabled you to make that change? What changed for you in terms of your inner talk? How did you start seeing yourself?
I started replacing the inner talk from other people, right? The negative inner talk, which came from love, out of love, right? So, but it was still talk that was holding me back to just, it was like almost a portal opened up in my mind saying, you know what, you can do this. You can make this happen. Overcome your fear, right? And go for it. So my was, hey, I really want this, and I am going to make this happen, and I can make this happen despite what anyone else says. And now that I'm actually reliving it, it's interesting as I'm analyzing what we're talking about here. There was a little bit of anger in there that, hey, I'm going to show you that I can make this happen, right? I'm going to prove to all of the naysayers that I could make this reality, and not have to take a traditional path like everyone else told me I needed to take. So it's a very interesting thing. So sometimes, and Jim Rohn actually talks about that. He tells a great story, and we won't get into it here, about how he was deep in debt, and he finally, and this collection company kept hounding him and hounding him and hounding him, and he just one day got all the money because he had enough money, packed it all up, and went to this credit company in person, dumped it all out on their desk, right, to pay them off. And he says, revenge can be a good motivator. My level of energy didn't come to revenge, but I wanted to prove other people wrong. That was a piece of it. So it was not only that I wanted to make this a reality, I wanted to prove other people wrong, to show them that I was capable and that I could do it. But none of that would have happened had I not read and studied and listened. Back then it was audio cassettes about the importance of changing your thinking, right? It seems so common now, right? Because we're into this, but it's amazing. Most people don't realize that. They don't really, or even if they've heard it, they don't believe it. They don't believe that changing your self-talk, because the self-talk changes the energy inside of you. That energy then propels you to go forward and do it, and do the things that you need to do, and overcome any type of fear that you have. So I said affirmations. I did all of that stuff. And I'm not, even to this day, I'm not super big on that. I think the most powerful things was hearing other people success stories, not necessarily a magician, because there weren't any, right, that I knew of, but understanding that other people could do it. And if somebody else could do it, why can't I do it? But none of that would have happened had I not studied this, had I not worked on it. And I just got so deep into it that it really just transformed my thinking.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And one of my favorite questions that always pops up in my head when someone's putting themselves down or saying, I can't do this, or that's not possible for me. The question in my head is always, why not you?
Yeah.
You can do it. Of course you could do it. You said that, we know all about this stuff now, about mindset stuff, and it wasn't so big back then. I remember the days of the tape cassettes as well. But not everyone does know about this, do they? Or they don't pay any attention to it. I know you work with a wide variety of entrepreneurs, and you work with financial advisors, you work with people who are in other industries as well. So why do you think, and there is quite a few entrepreneurs who are busy doing the sales and marketing, which is so important, but they're not buying into the mindset bit. They're sort of neglecting that bit. Why do you think that is?
I think a lot of them think it is woo-woo, new age. I used to have that attitude, right? Um, and by the way, I think a lot of it is woo-woo, new age. There's a lot of BS out there around this. You can just manifest what you want by thinking about it. One of my favorite quotes comes from a great late great Gary Halbert, and he said, "You will accomplish a lot more by movement than you will by meditation." But by the way, I was talking to somebody else, and another mindset type of coach, and we were just having a conversation, and he said, "Is that actually true? Maybe it's not." But the point is, I think that there's a stigma around it because there is so much BS in this area. So I think that's a big piece of it. At least it was for me. That's why it's such a difficult thing to sell. So you were showing the newsletter that you got, which was all about inner game. So I do a monthly newsletter. Just so you know, that was the least amount of subscribers I've ever gotten in a month. And to me, it's probably the most important topic that I talked about all year, right? And so it's a very, very difficult thing to sell. People can't see that, they're not making the connection between, your inner game and the outer game of success. See, it's very easy to say, if you send out this set of emails that I've written for you is going to produce leads, right? Or if you do this webinar, you're going to get sales, right? That's a very practical, logical thing. What they're not making the connection of, oh, if I work on this mindset stuff, it's going to lead to an increase of my business, not only an increase of my business, but making it more enjoyable, right? And helping me overcome. I've used adversity like 4 times here, but as entrepreneurs, that's what we're constantly solving problems. So I don't think, Nina, that they're actually making that direct connection, which is really our job as marketers of this, and trying to really help people to get them to make that connection. So one of the sayings in the business that I'm in is sell people what they want and then deliver what they need while giving them what they want. So, for example, when someone comes into my world and they're already in my world, there is a lot about mindset. We just don't promote a lot of it because, exactly for what you said, people aren't making that. And I think they're not making that direct connection between, oh, this is how I'm actually going to get results. Because as we talked about before, people don't know that is probably up here that's holding them back, right? It's probably in their mind. They're unaware of that, right? They don't think that. And so why don't I this if I don't even know I have the problem in the first place?
Yeah, that's so true. But it's interesting because if they watch their patterns of behavior, that's holding them back. So, for example, if you were to say to your client, write this letter, this email to your list, they don't do it. They sit on it and they sit on it, and they have this fear about sending it out because they're going to be disturbing people, and what if it's not very good, and there's going to be this wall of silence. They're not going to sell anything. They put out a webinar, what if no one comes, what if no one buys? That's going to prove they're a loser. They don't want to be faced with that information. So these avoidance patterns of behavior are costing them dearly. And it could cost them not just financially, but in terms of time, in terms of heartache. There's so many levels they pay for that. So when that awareness starts seeping in, and this is where I meet my clients, where they realize, actually, I'm not getting anything done. I spoke to a client and he said that he started financial advisor. He started writing his book 4 years back, and he wrote 80% of it in 2 weeks. And then he didn't complete the other 20% because he knew that once he completed it, he would have to put it out there. He would start having to be more visible and start marketing with it. And he was avoiding doing that. So he made all sorts of excuses why he wasn't going to finish that book, or why he hadn't managed to finish the book. So there is a cost to this.
There's a cost to it. And again, as people that are selling this stuff, we need to show them that cost, right? We could help a lot more people if we could actually make that connection, especially business people, and make that connection and show them, hey, by working on this, everything's going to become easier for you, and you're going to make more money, and you're going to have more fun in your business, right? So if we could actually make that connection, then a lot more people do it. But I don't think people are making that direct connection, most of them.
So in your experience, having a peak performance mindset, let's say, where you believe you can achieve your goals and you feel resilient, you're willing to take risks and have some failures along the way because you're learning from them, but you're making progress. What does then enable you and people who do the mindset work, what does that enable them to do in their sales and marketing that they wouldn't be able to do if they weren't doing that mindset work and weaving it into their business?
So to me, the inner game of selling is as important, if not more important, than the actual techniques.
I agree. I think it's a mind game, sales.
100%. Because here's the thing: if I now I'm getting excited. Okay, if I truly, honestly believe with a passion that my product or service is the very best on the planet, right? And I'm not afraid of saying that, and I'm not afraid of meeting with the prospect, and I show confidence in there, that alone is going to help me close more sales than the newest tricky close, right? But here's the problem. Our They've got this negative mindset about selling, or they're afraid about selling, or they're not confident about selling. And all of those things, even if they don't project it if someone doesn't pick up consciously, if the prospect doesn't pick up on it consciously, they absolutely pick up on it unconsciously. And the prospect does not make a differentiation between, oh, this person isn't confident they're selling, right? They just say this person isn't confident. This person must not believe. They're not saying, oh, they're very confident about their product. They're just not confident about selling. No, this person isn't confident. And if I'm not confident about what I'm in my sales presentation and about what I'm offering, there's no way I'm going to close the sale. It doesn't matter what techniques I use. I can have all the techniques on the planet. Belief, right? And belief and confidence is what the major. Funny story, true story. So I used to do these boot camps. A company hired me. Actually, one of my mentors, company, Dan Kennedy, his company hired me to do these boot camps. So we do these 2-day marketing boot camps. And one of the core things that we wanted to sell was their signature product, which is called magnetic marketing. And that's one of the programs that I bought way back in the day when I was a magician that helped me change my business. And so the way that I would sell it, because I so believed in it, I wouldn't even have a sales presentation. So I teach how to create these sales presentations. I wouldn't even use it. I would just say with total conviction and passion to the audience that they needed this, that if they were serious about their business and they didn't own this, that they needed to get it today, then I made them a really good offer on it. And Nina, I'm telling you, without a sales presentation, just with passion and belief and confidence, I nearly closed 100% of the audience of the people who did not have that product.
Wow.
Every time. And it came, now it wasn't fake, right? I'm not faking it, right? Because then you're a con man, right? I believed it and I had the confidence to say it. And so that there was literally no presentation other than me telling people that they needed it, right? And showing them what it was and all of this. But it is, if you're in selling, and any entrepreneur is in selling, or they better be in selling if they want to grow their business, and you're not working on your mindset, I don't care how many seminars you go to, how many tricky closes you learn, it's not going to improve what you're doing over the long haul. It's just not. To me, the inner game of selling is one of the most important pieces of the entire thing.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And I know that as I worked on my mindset and I speak to prospects, the certainty and the confidence I bring to what I can do for them, it goes through, even on a screen when you could be on the other side of the world, it comes through, that certainty. And that's what mindset gives you. It gives you belief in your value and how you can get a result for your prospect. And I think that value piece is missing for a lot of entrepreneurs. They don't believe in their own value. And when you don't believe in your own value, when you haven't locked that in, and I'm not talking about your inner core value, I'm talking about the value of your service, then the prospect will pick up on it. And as you said, the sales script is not going to work, however good it is.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But it's not just in your believing in your own value. It's having the confidence in what your beliefs about selling actually, right? So if a lot of people, especially people who have degrees, right? So doctors and lawyers and those type of folks that have got a degree, they've got this negative belief about selling and about what selling is, and they don't like it. They think it's kind of sleazy or beneath them.
It's got a dirty name, hasn't it?
Yeah. And what I'm saying is, in addition to belief in your own value and that you can deliver the results, you have to believe that selling is a noble thing. And you've got to exude that confidence in the actual sales process. Because if you don't, the prospect's going to pick up on that. And so again, this is 100% about mindset, right?
Yes.
Now, again, you do need the scripting and you do need to know the process and all of that, but belief, confidence comes first.
Absolutely. So Dave, What is the biggest lesson, would you say, that life has taught you so far?
Wow, what a great deep question. The biggest lesson life has taught me so far is that not to judge whether something is good or whether something is bad uh, initially, and maybe ever, because you don't know where that path is going to lead you. So right now, I'll just use my a personal example. So I was married for 18 years and got divorced, and it was devastating. Even though I'm the one that initiated it, it was devastating, right? There's a whole mindset thing around this, my beliefs about that, and everything all around that, and it was honestly definitely the worst piece of my life, right? It was terrible, and I thought that it was never going to get better. But that led me to changing my business, right? That led me to meeting my wife Kalia, who and I have been married to for 9 years. And like if all of this stuff what was perceived as negative and things were actually working for me. And because now I didn't know, I honestly didn't know what love was, honest to God, until my wife. Like I never knew it could be like this. I never knew. And I would have never got there if it wasn't through that adversity. So I think what a lot of us do is we look at something that, quote, negative that happens in our life, you immediately think, oh God, this is a negative thing, where you really don't know if it's negative. And one of my favorite things is things don't happen to us, they happen for us. And I have found that that is more than likely true, right? And so we gotta hang in there, gotta hang in there, because you don't know where this negative event is going to can actually be a catalyst for something extremely positive and extremely transformative. Does that make
Exactly.
sense?
Yeah, yeah. It's all
Yeah,
working out perfectly, even though it doesn't seem like it at that time.
that's right.
And it's all personal growth and learning lessons as well, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
So that's a great, thank you for sharing that. Thank you for being here. But before we finish, I'd love to share more of you with our audience. And I've worked with you, so I know you are brilliant at what you do. You
Thank you.
are a master of sales and marketing, and you weave mindset into everything you do. You are amazing at putting together webinars and so many great skill sets. So how can our listeners and our viewers find out more about you and the amazing work that you do?
Yeah, so the easiest thing for them to do is go to daved.com and subscribe to the newsletter that you mentioned, Sales Espresso. It's a daily email newsletter that comes out, and it's entertaining.
It
And
really is.
it's entertaining and fun. You look forward to reading it, but it's got really great marketing and sales tips in it. And in addition to that, at a free copy of one of my newsletters, which are fantastic. It's a $97 a month newsletter, and they'll get a free copy of that as well, so they can check that out. So just go to daved.com and subscribe, and make sure that you download the free newsletter as well.
Yeah, do take advantage of the free newsletter. I subscribe to it, and it's packed full of information. I'm reading it throughout the month and implementing, and it really does make a big difference. So thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure having you on the show. I cannot wait for this to go out and everyone to be able to hear the wisdom that you shared with us today. And for everyone who's been with us today, thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, bye-bye for now.